Okay, it's April 9th. Okay, make sure you're on mute, please, if you're on Zoom, unless you're speaking. Thank you. It's April 9th, 2025. This is the meeting of the Milford Finance Committee. I'll start off with the prior minutes. They have been circulated. Comments, motions?
Motion to accept.
Motion by Al to accept.
Second.
Second by Vin. We have people on Zoom, so we'll do a roll call. Carly?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Bill? Al? Ash?
Yes.
Yes. Joyce? Lauren?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Bob. Thank you. Okay. Minutes have been approved unanimously. Invitation to speak. Okay. I don't see anyone. Next on the list is our continued review and discussion of the fiscal year 2026 budget, and the school department is up. Okay. All right. Could whoever is planning on speaking just identify themselves for the benefit of our clerk?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Oh, you want to go first?
Fire away.
Kevin McIntyre, I'm the superintendent of the Milford Public Schools. Thank you for having us this evening.
Thank you.
And I think Matt's going to also.
Yeah, I'm just Matthew Zakili. I'll be chair of the school committee.
Great, okay. I'll turn the floor over to you guys. It's your budget. Why don't you tell us where you're at?
All right, so thank you for having us tonight. We appreciate it. We appreciate our longstanding collaborative relationship with the Finance Committee. Also appreciate the fact that Mike Nicholson has attended most of our budget meetings this year, so he's been involved in the process, and I think, Andy, you made it to one or two of them as well.
did, yeah.
Yeah. So what I'd love to do is just kind of walk you through the process that we take just for the full committee, and I think there's a few new members too, so I think it's helpful. When we begin the budget process, our goal is to develop a budget that meets the needs of the students and the expectations for education of our families and community. And we take that very seriously. The process starts back in October, where our department heads and principals start pulling together budgets for the next fiscal year. And they talk about what they need, what they have. We look at the trends in student population, trends in our English learner population, trends in our special education population. All of that drives our requests and our overall look at the budget. Once we get the initial budget together, the school committee, it's presented to the school committee in late December, early January, and we start kind of talking about, what are the new initiatives, what's level service look like, and kind of where are we. And so after that point, we start making cuts to like the initial proposals. And so when we start to make adjustments and cuts to the proposals, sometimes we lose sight of the overarching goal, which is to provide that high-quality education. And again, I want to walk you through where we started in terms of a percentage and where we are currently. And again, it's a multi-step process that involves a large number of our staff. And our team has been continuously working with our principals, directors, department heads to develop this request that we put forward for you today for the 25-26 school year. Are you guys playing me off already? I feel like it's the Oscars. I didn't even get to thank my mother. So the budget process is very transparent. Each step of the process is very transparent. We put all the requests that the principals and department heads make, and then the administration makes requests. And the initial number that came in on January 31st was 10.02%. This decreased on February 22nd to 9.56%. Then on March 6th, we cut the budget further to 8.98%. On April 3rd, it dropped to 8.07%, and the number we're bringing you tonight is 7.82%, which is what we're proposing. Each one of these steps required a careful review by our team and multiple internal conversations that looked at the impact of any shifts to the budget. Now, this budget that we're presenting tonight does not provide us with everything our team feels would move our district forward and accomplish everything we want to for our students and families. But we also understand there's fiscal realities, there's external forces that impact costs that have been impacting us over the last, between COVID and what's been happening recently at the national and I think worldwide. And we also want to make sure that we're answering questions of sustainability for the long term. So I just want to hit a few key facts about our budget and our schools just to kind of just to give you a sense, and there's a couple new members, so I'm going to be like a broken record for some of you because I've said this stuff a bunch, but for the new members, I think it's important because you might be hearing this for the first time. Maybe you watch my presentations. I have kind of a cult following.
Get your stand-up routine going tonight.
One of my fans is back there.
You know what your next job's going to be.
So Chapter 70 is increasing by $5,755,000, or 11.7% over the previous year's allocation. This is actually fantastic news. Last year, we got significantly less in Chapter 70 than we were anticipating. We had to do a lot of retrenchment to get to where we needed to get to. Our student population has grown considerably in the past decade, and a significant proportion of our student population is high needs. Now, what high needs is a student is high needs if they have special needs, are an English learner, or economically disadvantaged, or have two or three, or fall under two or three of those classifications. In 2013, 41.2% of our students were classified as high needs, which was 6.7 points below the state average. This year, and this is in January, I didn't get the most recent numbers. We can calculate it almost on a daily basis. This year, our high needs percentage is 70.4%, which is well above the state average. So 7 out of 10 of our students are an English learner, have special needs, or economically disadvantaged, or have all three of those, or fall into all three of those categories. I'm going to go back a little bit further. In 2003, 62% of the school budget was paid by local funds, which was $19.3 million, compared to the state funds of $11.6 million. In 2025, the current year, 33.8% of the school budget is paid directly out of our local funds, compared to 66.2% covered by state funds. So the funding pie has more than flipped in 22 years from a majority of the funds coming locally to a majority of the funds coming from the state. And this is a trend that's happened over time. Over the same period, the local increase was 29.9%. The state increase was 418%. So we have a number of, so I'm going to shift gears now. We have a number of priorities that we are focused on for the upcoming fiscal year, which include the new literacy curriculum, which Al alluded to at our previous meeting, restoration of cuts from the last budget cycle, support for our IT infrastructure, support for our central office operations to support our schools and employees, and special education and district programming. We want our budget to be sustainable for the long term. Our goal tonight is to review it and hopefully approve it for the 25-26 school year. I want to emphasize this again. This budget reflects multiple iterations and thoughtful work of our administrative team, the Milford School Committee, and our staff. There's a lot of hands and a lot of eyes that go into this budget that started in October, so where are we now? April, October, what is it, 6 or 7 months that we've been working on this, and this is what we're presenting to you this evening. Matt, do you want to kind of go over the high-level stuff on that page, or do you want me to kind of take that?
No, you keep going.
All right.
Fire away.
I'm going to roll, huh?
You're on a roll.
All right, so our level service increase is 7.03%. Now, we always get into debates. I can see Al perk up right now already.
His favorite word.
I know, he loves that word. And this is one of the last times I'll be able to tweak him, so I couldn't resist. The level service number is 7.03%, and what our definition of level service, and there's a lot of different definitions of level service, our definition of level service is we're providing the same staffing, goods, and services as we did last year. So with the same personnel, with the same programs, the number is 7.03%. That's what our definition of level service is. We have a number of personnel initiatives we're proposing to move forward. A human resource generalist, we're moving the director of transportation salary from the revolving account into the local budget. The speech language pathologist, a kindergarten EL teacher at the elementary level, obviously because it's kindergarten, a special education teacher assistant, a Milestones teacher, actually 2 Milestones teachers, one for Brookside, one for Woodland. The Milestones program, for folks that are new, are programs that support our students with autism that need very specialized educational services. An instructional materials budget restoration of $20,000. We made a lot of cuts to our materials last year, and we've been really working without a net in terms of budget the last couple of years. ESSER funding shift, there's a handful of things there. Math student workbooks and online access, and these are all recurring costs. Microsoft Office licenses, APC EcoStruxure, I might have to rely on Mike to explain what that is, and network glue. It's not actual glue, it's metaphorical glue. Matt, do you want to explain what that is?
It's metaphorical glue. It's management software. The easiest thing to explain is when you have a small amount of people in IT handling a ridiculous amount of devices. The way they do it is through organization. It's a software piece that pulls data in, helps manage the security of it, the patching, the updates. It's a informational sharing piece. So it's basically the digital notebook in hands of the tech department to handle what I think is over 15,000 devices at this point. So and I believe those technology pieces, for the most part, we're seeing here were covered by grants in the past that don't exist anymore. So they had to be rolled into important pieces of the actual budget.
That makes me feel good because I was going to say the exact same thing. Chromebooks and laptop leases, and there's new materials for geometry and algebra 2. I think those are the big pieces. So with all those pieces in place, the budget comes in at 7.82%, or $79,603,384. The most recent group of cuts that we made, and I just want to give you a sense of what we're doing, so it's not just like, these meetings are always about more, but we do cut, and we do take this, very seriously. We reduced the district technology budget overall by $35,000. We're taking a $120,000 offset from the cafeteria revolving account to cover overhead expenses, basically, because they use heat and electricity, and they kind of operate like a business within our infrastructure. Community use revolving offset, $35,000, same reason. Additional turnover and attrition, this is when we have somebody retiring, and we're replacing them with a top step teacher with generally a first, second, or third step teacher, and that savings is about $30,000. We're not replacing an EL teacher for $80,000 at the high school. We're not moving forward a program psychologist. We're doing a restructure in our district for psychology coverage for $85,000. We're reducing 4 stipends for curriculum team leaders, and we're doing another revolving overhead assessment. So that actually, the cafeteria number should be 150. It's 120 plus 30. The 30 was just added in recently.
What's the AFSCME reference?
That's our behavioral assistance contract, most recent contract negotiation, and that's the increase. I think it was just settled recently.
There are no Chromebook or laptop lease costs in your level service? First line?
There are. This is an increase in expenses. The costs are going up by about 30% next year.
But there is a piece of that is in
There is, yes.
level services?
Yes. The majority of it is now in level service. It wasn't our school choice revolving account. We had to move that out, I think last year or the year before. I can't remember exactly.
Matt alluded earlier to some ESSER funding shifts on expenses. Have you folks quantified the personnel?
That's all those folks are already in.
When you say they're already in, were they in last year?
When do you want to answer that one? The ESSER folks moving into the budget from the grant?
Yeah, those items are only shifts that happening this year. Most of the shift happened last year already.
So all of the personnel that are proposed to be paid from the general fund in this budget were in the general fund last year?
Yes.
I'm struggling with the 7% level service increase. I mean, that's higher than what we typically see for, quote, level service in other
It is.
departments.
And that's driven by a few things. I think it's special ed costs that have been going up consistently. It's transportation costs that have been going up. And just, I think goods and services in general are going up pretty dramatically. Like, I don't know, Wendy, do you want to talk about the electricity for next year?
Right, so we reviewed the most recent electricity bid, like prices. It's like 28 to 30% increase. And last year, the level service proposal was actually 7.6 or 7.8%, so it's higher than this year.
Well, I guess that would raise the same question, though, who was in the
Just so-
personnel?
Yeah, Dr. McIntyre just mentioned, the person, mostly contractual in personnel and the utilities and goods and services, and tuition services.
Zach?
Most of the S's, I think what you're asking, I'm not sure you're getting the direct question, most of the ESSER hires were transitioned into this current budget right now that we're in, not the ask.
So they're in the level, so they're in the base.
So we funded permanent additions with temporary grants.
Yeah, I think.
We got to stop that.
No,
Well, hold on.
wait, yeah, that's not what we did. We said we were going to put these people in and we're going to transition them out. That was kind of the agreement we
It
made.
was agreed, that's what I'm trying to say.
But are they transitioning out?
Now, Al, years ago, we had the discussion that they were going to be part of the ESSER funding. Last budget cycle, they transitioned into the budget that we're in now, so they're already out. Nobody new has been paid for with temporary money. is what we're
Okay, well,
saying.
you got a director of transportation.
So the Director of Transportation is a different piece, okay? The Director of Transportation's role used to be both Director of Transportation and Community Use Director, and it was being paid for out of the community use piece.
Right.
They're now two separate roles, but up until now, Community Use was still paying for the Transportation Director piece. He has nothing to do with community use anymore. So it had to be broken out through this, what we see in here, this ask here, because the Director of Transportation should not be being paid for from community use when he is not involved in community use in any way.
Hold on, I'm still unclear on the facts. You said that most of the people were transitioned last year. You mean transitioned from the grant to
Yes, sorry.
the
if that
general
was-
budget?
Yes, sorry if that was not clear.
Transitioned as of last year or as of this year? Which budget year are we talking about?
The budget that we're in right now,
Right.
they're in this budget.
But the prior year?
Prior year.
So that would partly attribute why the level service increase was higher at 7.6 as opposed to the 7%. Right, okay, that makes sense. But your point is,
There's $80,000 in the town of Milford budget somewhere, community use or whatever, that is not being spent.
I don't follow.
Okay. Community use used to pay 80 grand for transportation.
Yes,
You're saying they're not paying that anymore.
that's the plan,
So
yeah.
what happened to the 80 grand of money in community use?
Man, I'll take that.
Go ahead.
So this has been my little project with John Erickson.
I'm sorry,
Mike Legajanian, Vice Chair of School Committee.
thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so community use, this has been a 2-year project to kind of bring it up to current day, because obviously it was built in the 1970s. And so the position was split between, the transportation was split between community use and, the schools. So what we did is transportation is much more complicated now than it was 20 years ago, right? So now it's a full-time job. So that's been split out completely. And community use is a whole full-time job. So now it's 2 positions. So the 80 grand was taken out of community use because community use shouldn't be paying for the school's transportation because that's a revolving account, whole separate thing going on there, right? And so that extra 80 grand is going back into community use to run their programs.
Mr. Chairman, can I follow up on that?
Sure, go ahead.
So the question is that .60, or .6, what does that mean? Does that mean 60% of this person's salary is going to the,
So this individual, when it was one role,
Yeah.
it was more, it was like 134.
So-
The cost of community use was one number, and the cost of transportation was another. We put it together. So the .6, I believe, is that it's breaking those 2 salaries apart. Is that right, one?
is this one person that both working at community
Yeah.
use and this?
It was. It's
It
not
was.
anymore.
It's not anymore.
Now it's
So,
people.
and then I like the creative additional cuts explanation here, but it's not really additional cuts, you're just using other source of funds. That would be more appropriate to say.
For some of them, yeah,
Rather than a
absolutely.
cut, because it's not a cut.
Yeah, it's not a cut, but that's where we're pulling the revenue
So
from.
my question is, you're using community use revolving offset, the 35,000, why don't you use the 85,980 to make it a complete wash? Because it was a complete wash previously for community use, because community use transportation was a self-sufficient entity, fund, right? The person's salary was being funded by not
The
taxpayer
revolving
dollars. It would be-
account.
Yeah, revolving account. So why can't this be 0 for 0 then? Why can't you keep it the same?
Yeah, so community use, so after COVID, or during COVID, the revenues went way down, right? And so community use has been rebuilding, and so they need the money to actually operate.
So last year, can you tell me last year how they did then? I mean, there was a run, the revolving running that as a negative?
They did well, but it was very close down to.
So you can't say COVID anymore because COVID was 5 years
No, agreed,
ago.
but what I'm saying, when you look at the enrollment was up, COVID went down, and now it's coming back up.
Yeah, so I would, to help offset, because we know that we're, I guess the drive was the 7.5%, right? That was the goal, the 7.5% budget. You're a little bit over, so now you're adding to the overall deficit of the town by another 200 grand. So I would suggest to help offset the 200,000 is to increase the community use. And I got 2 more points if I can, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
David, one question before you go on. Community use budget, where's that? It used to be that Lenny, at the end of the year, donated a whole bunch of money, and we never knew the gazinta, the gazouta. Who oversees the community use budget?
All right, hold on. Zach wants to, Jack wants
Community use used to be a budget, probably like 20 years ago. Now it's set up as a revolving fund, completely separate apart from the general fund. So what they're talking about is basically indirect cost allocation. Now, you have to read the statute. The statute is very specific to what can be done. So you can't just arbitrarily take a number to make it work. You have to have, as I believe it's demonstrated here, a rational ratio of usage, not just, hey, we're going to take this extra money, you know? It's under Chapter 71 section, I'm not sure, but there is a statute that you have to follow.
But where is it reported?
one at a time.
Where is the P&L reported for community use?
Under special, it's a special revenue fund. It's a revolving fund.
Reporting to who? Is it school?
So could a rationale be if it was fully funded last year, you're just switching it over to
That's
this
why
year?
they're taking them out, because the rationale of paying for transportation has nothing to do with adult education, which is what community use really is.
Yeah, but it's transportation.
It's not, so the did you just connect there? The transportation for day school for kids K through 12
Yeah.
was being paid for by community use, which has nothing to do with
With the schools?
the schools.
Okay, got it.
And that was something, I apologize for not adding that to my
All
initial
right.
comment, but that was something that we ran past town
that's
council,
fair.
and they recommended what.
So
what
two
Zach
other,
just-
two other comments. One is, and this is to Al's twitching, is that next year, can we start with a zero-based budget? And the reason being because you're starting with a budget that has a bunch of initiatives in there from years past, and it gets lost, right? No one knows if it's a one-time initiative or if it's an initiative that dropped. You just don't know about what's in there. So to me, this number could be overinflated because there's stuff in there that's no longer relative or pertinent. And the second comment I have is the transportation costs going up. And I know this is a hot button, but we bought all those vans, and the purpose of buying those vans was transportation costs was going to go down. And I know we've asked to see if it's cheaper to buy a van or now to look at leasing it out or have a third party do it, just because we just don't know, and transportation costs are going up. We bought vans, and it just seems like it's an opposite result.
Al can answer that question. I think.
I will answer that second question
During the
first.
capital subcommittee meeting, I mentioned that 5 months ago, 4 months ago, 3 months ago, every month since 5 months ago, we've been asking for a report to say, the van, is it a good deal or not? Kevin says it is, and Matt said he'll provide us the background information within a month.
Yeah, what I want to do, what I'd like to do actually is not only talk about the vans, but talk about transportation overall, so you have a better sense of like kind of what we're facing. And so I think the vans will be part of that, but I also want to talk to you about like all the different types of transportation that we are required to provide. So you have a good sense of why costs are increasing, even though we're doing measures to cut costs. It's counterintuitive.
It's not right.
Yeah, but that's what we're really trying to do. So we'll give you an overall of
Answer
the.
there?
What's
If it's
that?
cheap- Is there an answer if it's cheaper or not, or?
It is. It is
It's
less
cheaper
expensive.
to buy vans than to lease it out or
Yeah,
third party.
and when I show you some of the costs connected to like what we contract out for,
Yeah.
I think it'll be very clear.
But with the new people coming in place next year, I really think we should start with the zero budget and then work your way up to see what your needs are, and then go, do a full, blown budget and then cut back. You're starting with a high number to begin with.
Yeah, so
already.
let me just answer that, because some of you may or may not know. Wen, who is our business administrator. This is our first full year here. So our budget cycle this year was very different from, I think, what the school committee's seen in the past in terms of what's been presented to us. And that was her first swing at it. Now, we talked about it a lot. It's going to take her probably multiple years. I'm not going to speak for what she's going to set up for the budget.
Right.
But there's been big changes, and I'm sure there will be more to come in terms of bringing efficiency to this process. It felt like, I'm sure the rest could speak to it too, this process felt more efficient and more clear and more documented than it has in the past, and that was just her first attempt at gathering everything we've had and putting together, the very first budget. So I would expect this to be different again next year.
Thank you.
Carly?
Could we maybe ask what we asked Tom, I believe, last meeting, which was, can we understand the initiatives? Remember, we had that conversation for the other budgets, and you said you can pull out the initiatives when we go to do this next year. Maybe we can ask for a similar request, maybe not zero-based, but could we ask for a similar request where we could see the
Look,
initiatives?
there's a line item in there that's just a one-time ask, and it should be taken up next year. I'll monitor
I
that.
feel like a similar request could be asked for the schools that would fit what we're looking for.
Could we add another report to the MAT list?
Absolutely. What do you got?
The Lenny Marcone Memorial Fund. This community use fund.
Thank you. I was going to write that down exactly what you said.
For the folks at home, he's still alive and well.
He's in Italy.
No, but every year, we always let it go because Lenny would come up with buying a diving board for the pool. He'd come up with money. But I think when, at this point, we'd like to know, community use, what's the P&L? Because this feels like we just gave them $80,000 incremental last year to this year.
So to comment on that too, as Michael said, him and John have been very focused on making some shifts and changes in community use. Part of that is to get with the new community use director to develop a more, substantial budget that matches what the other departments in the schools have to be able to.
Matt, I don't care if it comes from you or Mike.
We'll get it for
I
you.
just want the report so that we understand we're adding according to this budget, we're adding $80,000 to community use. Why?
Yep. So that's again part of I think the changes and shifts in the way we're looking at the budget. So that will come too. I won't give you a deadline on that, but we'll put that on my list. We'll get it to you hopefully sooner than later.
There are two articles, not to jump around too much, but there are two articles on the warrant that pertain to the schools I'd like to fold into this conversation, but before I do that, I want to know if anyone else has anything they want to ask at this point.
I have one question to you, Craig.
Bill?
In the beginning of your discussion on budgets, you detailed sort of a bottoms-up approach, soliciting information from department heads and so on and so forth. Is there anything from the top down prior to generating that information, like expectations, inflation, salary?
So we kind of do like a, what do we call it, like a budget overview that we give everybody in terms of expectations, and that's part of the process. So we'll send like a one sheet that talks about what our broad goals are as a school system, what some of the realities are, what some of the things we're looking at are. And if you think about our budget, 80% of our budget is personnel, give or take. It's about 80%. We're a mostly fixed cost operation, so there's very little, then you put on utilities, you put on transportation, you put on out-of-district special ed costs, and there's really not a lot of, there's not a lot of funds that are just not accounted for going into the year.
To answer your question directly, the school committee, for the first time that I've been on school committee, we actually made a directive to the administration in the beginning of October with guidance on what we want to see as a committee, what we thought were the priorities and what the town should see. So yes, the answer is yes. We started with top down from school committee, asking the administration to come up with a budget with certain parameters, which they came back and we dug in.
Thank you.
Financial parameters or operational parameters or both?
We started with mostly operational this year, and the next year we're going to be moving into more of a financial piece.
I guess my first question is, are both of these articles that you plan to proceed on?
So
Which ones are we talking
the roof
Okay.
article we're not moving forward with, the curriculum only plan to move forward with.
Okay, so
Andy, what numbers?
I'm sorry, that for everyone, Article 14 has to do with the roof. Kevin just said that is a pass.
I'll just fill in while you guys are writing that down quick. The plan of that article, the reason I was inserted was because we had problems with the roof that everybody's aware of, so we'll restart that discussion. But at the time of the article submission, we didn't know what it was going to cost to fix it. The rough estimates are in the 10 to 15,000 range to fix the two direct issues that were leaking, which is why we don't necessarily need an article right now to fix anything. We are going to pay for an assessment that we may end up having expose other potential problem areas in the future, but that won't be done anytime in the next couple months.
So the emergency repairs have been done?
They're going to be done.
I think in the next week, one of the issues we're having is there's been so much rain, I think, and that's impacting them getting up there on the roof.
Okay.
But it's in the near term.
Okay. Article 22 is the other article. Sum of money for the purpose of funding a new elementary literacy curriculum. Who's going to drive this bus?
I can have Craig, Dr. Consigli can jump in and do that one.
Sure. This is to,
Hold on, for the clerk?
sorry, Craig Consigli, Assistant Superintendent.
Thank you.
This is to fund high-quality instructional materials in kindergarten through 5th grade in the area of literacy. It's very expensive to fund these materials. Currently, we do not have a literacy program. So the result of that is what's happening in this classroom is different than what's happening in this classroom, is different than what's happening in this classroom. So as you can imagine, it's a very uneven, inequitable way to go through schooling. It's very hard for teachers to know what happened with their students the year before when you go that way, because obviously when you go from 2nd grade to 3rd grade, the kids that you have in 3rd grade all had different teachers, so might have had a different experience. We need to put this article in, and to Mr. Levine's point, it is a one-time ask. So it's not going to be built into the budget. So once we purchase the materials, the ongoing cost would just be workbooks year over year over year.
Have these costs been quantified both for year one and subsequent years?
I have, the year one is $340,000. That includes all the materials, the professional development.
And subsequent years?
I don't have the number on me. Those would probably be absorbed into the budget.
Okay, so the question would be asked, why is this different than an initiative? Why wouldn't it be included in the general budget?
I think one of the reasons, like I said, is we don't want it to get absorbed in the budget either, right? So the next year we come back and we have a $340,000 built-in budget that just goes on year over year over year. To Mr. Levine's point, I guess.
I had a point, thank you.
That was, by the way, that was intentional by school committee when we had that actual discussion, because FinCom has asked that in the past. So we wanted to actually pull it out as a one-time ask, and we thought this would be a great vehicle.
Yeah.
Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, Craig, will there be personnel involved with this?
No.
You won't be hiring any
No.
more people for that?
No, and the truth of the matter is, there's still grants that haven't been, just haven't been let out yet, I guess, by DESE. We had a grant for a math curriculum. We had a grant for our middle school curriculum. I don't know if you all know, but literacy is high on the list of on the governor's budget, and there are some grants that are going to be released. So there is potential that we could have grant funding too, in which case, if we did get the article, we would end up giving it back. But just the timing.
One big picture comment, I think I had mentioned to you guys before, our overall objective was to try to keep excess levy capacity at $6 million for the town, and we have this ongoing contribution to stabilization, which has been somewhere around $1.7 million, $1.8 million. That's 7.7, 7.8. We've been thinking long-term to be used as a combination for the ultimate work on the high school, and hopefully to leave us with a little bit of a cushion against Proposition 2.5. Where we are right now, I don't know if anyone's updated you, we're $350,000 short of that objective before tonight. So if we adopted the 7.82 we would be about 600,000, give or take, short of that objective. If we adopted the 7.82 and the curriculum objective, we'd probably be 900,000 to $1 million short of the objective. So I just want everyone to be cognizant of those numbers. Go ahead, Al.
There's a third article. Possible.
There's a third school article? Oh,
It's not on the list yet.
yes. Yes, there's something about an elevator at Stacy?
We had a meeting of the capital subcommittee and found out that a week ago, 2 weeks ago, the elevator shaft, which is the piston, because when they say shaft, I think of the tunnel, but the piston failed. Now, 7 years ago, we did a lot of work on Stacy elevator, but at that point, to push her up and pull her downer, the hydraulic piston was in good shape, so we did not do any work on that.
Al's technical assessment is correct.
Now, the issue is, it's failed. We do not have a working elevator in Stacy. We can't do anything to fix that this year, except they're shifting classrooms and playing hide the student and move the student. But if we don't deal with it now, because originally the school committee came in and said they wanted to bring it up for the fall, the capital subcommittee was concerned that if you wait till the fall, it's $175,000, $150,000 to $175,000 to fix the elevator. That means practically, we won't have a working elevator in Stacy till next January. And that's a real concern over the kids who need the elevator. So this comes up as an unforeseen emergency. So technically, we can take it up at the Springtown meeting. Of course, the issue that came up was warrants closed. So what I'm going to propose from the committee is that we approach it from a two-tier point of view. Plan A, if Milford Town Legal says it's legitimate. Criteria works, but can we add a 33rd article through the closed warrant? If we can, then we'll propose that the committee consider adding a $175,000 expense to the Maytown meeting. If we can't, then there's a three-way split that we can possibly do, which would be to take a third of the money out of the FinCom emergency fund, a third of the money out of the ZAC shuffle the accounts fund, where at the end of the town meeting,
I'm glad he does that to you too, Zach.
he moves money around so that we have balanced budgets, which are required by law. So you'd be, 50-some from our account, 50-some from that account, and the school committee would cover anything above $1.25.
Mr. Chairman, were there discussions about encumbering that cost through this year's operating budget? Do you have enough room to do it?
We do not.
You don't have enough room to do it?
No.
That was the first place we went.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's why we had the discussion. If we did, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Yeah, and the biggest discussion was, we just found out, and the answer is yes. 2 weeks ago, a week ago?
It's 2 weeks ago, we found out the issue. A week ago, a little under a week ago, we got the estimate,
So
which I was hoping would come in
what
significantly
we're
less.
proposing is that if Brian and Jerry say it's legit, that we can add a 33rd article, and I believe Rick, it's 14 days before town meeting?
I think it's 7 for an annual. Either way, we should be covered. Select Board is meeting Monday night. I don't want to,
If we go
fairly
forward,
confident we'll be able to.
if we go forward tonight with our recommendation, Plan A would be that we add a 33rd article to the warrant for $175,000 to fix this elevator shaft piston. If
What's
that,
the exact term, Brent? Hydraulic?
Jack.
Hydraulic jack.
Yes, thank you.
hydraulic jack, okay. So that's where we are. If our legal counsel says we cannot add it, then it would be to take, how much did we say, 75,000 from the emergency fund, 50,000,
And they're going to take the rest.
and Craig said they've got so much money, he can cover the rest.
Yep.
Well, you just said 50/50. He earlier said 75.
75, 50 from Zach, that's $1.25.
Yeah.
And then we
And
cover
then the school would cover
25-ish.
25 to 50.
Lauren?
I just wanted to reassure, obviously I defer to Jerry and Brian, but I was just looking it up. Chapter 39, Section 10 says Select Board can do an emergency warrant article. I think it's 7 days before town meeting.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident we're going to be able to achieve that. I did look it up when I was stepping out of the room here. So I'm fairly confident the select board can vote. We'll redo the warrant. We will, it hasn't been mailed to town meeting members yet. I think that's scheduled for May 9th. We may have posted already in the public places as required, assuming we're within the 7 days, or if even it's 14, we will repost, and we should be able to meet all of those time requirements. So again, I'm fairly confident. I have had quick discussions with both Jerry and Brian, and they've indicated that to me.
Do you think you'd be able to have that article for next week?
I will have that article. If the school sends it to me tomorrow,
We will have it
I will have
tomorrow.
a revised warrant tomorrow morning.
Okay, but then you get it approved Monday night at the
I'd
select.
have to get it approved by the select board Monday.
And the only reason I'm suggesting we also consider Plan B is that this has to be done tomorrow and approved on Monday to meet the deadlines. If something happened, not that lawyers would hold up anything, but if something happened and it got held up, we'd have a Plan B approved by this committee to do the 75, the 50, and the remainder. So either way, we take care of the kids now.
Okay, but there's no reason we can't do this next week. Yes? We have a meeting next week.
I guess.
I understand the issues. We can attend to it next week.
Adding to the warrant has to be done Monday. So
I will have an answer for you
He'll have it-
Monday night.
If he has an answer Monday, then next Wednesday, we'll be discussing
Yes, we
Article
can do that.
33, right? Otherwise, we'll deal with the Plan B. But you've gotten the information you need from the
Yes.
schools on it. Okay. Is there anything else you folks want to add?
On that piece, I can send you the quote too, Al, just so you have it, as part of that process.
Well, it's capital, we want 5 questions.
Yeah, we can do that.
You already know I'm going to bug you about that tomorrow.
Yeah, we can do that too. We'll get it done.
But this seems like the best alternative.
Agreed.
Not that I don't want Craig to write a check, but
Okay, so, well, after your presentation is over, we're going to deliberate the full budget. I mean, obviously, you guys are doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Appreciate all the work, understand the objectives you're trying to achieve. You understand our concerns. A lot of times, we try to work these issues out with departments beforehand, but I understand you had your most recent meeting last night, so we really haven't had any further opportunities to talk. Anything else you can add to that?
no.
No?
I
Okay.
just need a motion as to whether or not this committee is going to support having Rick go to the
Well,
select board.
For the Article 33? Sure. I don't know that we need, Rick, do we need
I
that?
really don't think you do, but
Okay.
All right. So I think we,
I can take this to the select board.
I think we can adjourn this meeting and have our full budget discussion.
Sure.
And we'll attend to that next week. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. We appreciate the thoughtful questions too, as always.
Andy, you have
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm Helene Ciccone. I don't know who Andy is, but can I talk for 2 minutes?
Well, I mean, invitation to speak is come and gone. Do you want
your
to?
discretion.
We really have a lot to do tonight.
Keep
2 minutes, 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Helene Ciccone. I'm a mom of 4 boys, but I only have 1 son still in Milford Public Schools. I've had 3 successfully graduate. And I have been going to school committee the past 2 meetings to talk about Josh has requested for 2 years to have 3 campus aides to be like the eyes and ears of the school. And I need that fulfilled. I'm going to keep going to school committee. It's a safety issue. I think I sent you a video of a fight right?
You did send me an
Yes.
email. I don't recall if there's a video, but yeah.
It's a huge issue. I don't think that, I mean, usually when I show up to school committee meetings, I have to argue. I think everyone will agree that the thought of the school not having campus aides is insane. And if we can do grants for a temporary position, like I just heard has happened, that would be amazing, because I think 1 year with 3 staff will cut down on fights and definitely vandalism. And that's all I have to say.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. So now we have to consider the full budget.
Before we do, can I just ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
I think you gave us hey, if we accept these numbers, we would be...
That's a good point. Zach, let's make sure everybody's on the same page here.
It's not what the document
Do you want to
says.
come up, Zach? Thank you.
What was the specific question?
Well, first of all, let's make sure we're all looking at the same piece of paper.
I've got what Tom was...
Why don't you work up that one, as I call the balance sheet, it's really the P and L.
Yeah.
Right. So are you alluding to the email I sent earlier, Brant?
No, I got that when I was already out and about, but, so maybe just tell us where we stand today, and I'm getting confused about what's submitted versus what we just heard.
All right, long and short of it, we're currently $360,000 off of our objective. It's not a deficit of an unbalanced budget. What that would mean is you take it away from that levy adjustment.
So let me
fund rate.
stop you there, Zach. Why do I have this two-sided piece of paper that has 6 million in both columns?
That's just the second that backs up the first.
But they don't show what the levy adjustment residual number would be based on all the numbers that we have right now, right?
Yeah,
That's on
it does.
this. That's this right here.
Well, no, what I would expect is if we were 350,000 over, that the levy adjustment would not say 6 million, it would say
Okay, yeah, that's going to
$5,650,000.
be driven off of this sheet here, right in the middle. See, right in the middle.
I understand your point, Andy. He's got a reconciling item without changing the other numbers.
Oh, I see. You've got it down I was looking over in the levy
Yes.
adjustment line item. Okay.
Yes. I haven't fed it into that because we haven't made decisions yet.
I understand.
So that 360, though, just to keep going on the origin of my question, I believe that connects to the school budget of the 79.4 even.
Yes, sir.
And that's not the number we just heard.
And that's at 7.5%.
Yes.
Now, they've asked for 7.82%.
So it's 200,000.
203,000.
So the
203.
360 turns to a 560.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to...
So
that's what I thought.
360 plus what, 205? 203. All right, so that would leave us at 563 short of goals, and then we just heard a 340 number on the curriculum, which would leave us about 900,000.
Not necessarily. That would only happen if our funding source was raise and appropriating. It likely would be free cash, one-time item, free cash in May. It would not interfere with this if that were the funding source.
Oh, I see. You take it out of free cash. Well, I mean,
If we did, yeah.
Can I ask a
do we
clarifying
need to have
question?
then a side conversation about free cash?
On
Yeah.
where you're going, you're picking one warrant item? What if there are other warrant items that need cash?
There are.
So like, how are we talking about just the one that they asked for versus any other warrant item that might need
Well,
cash?
I had started off just trying to figure out how all the school changes would impact. Zach makes the point that that wouldn't necessarily come out of raise and appropriate, so it wouldn't change the excess levy, it would come out of free cash, but Carly is correct. In order to have an intelligent conversation about that, we have to figure out what we have for cash right now and, quickly flip through the money items, and I don't know if we want to do that right now. I suppose we could. What did you say earlier, 2.8 million?
Yeah.
Is what's projected to be available for cash?
It is available right now
It
until
is.
June 30th, then it goes away. 2.8 million in free cash.
Then it disappears into free cash?
Then I redo free cash. It's not available until it's recertified, which won't be until late September.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you done any little
Yeah,
cheat sheet on what the?
The fact that the roof is being passed over is massive, You know, that's huge. And the next largest article is obviously going to be Town Park.
Has Pearl Street been pulled yet?
Pulled.
It's pulled.
It never was on here. Yeah,
Okay.
it was
All
never
right.
on here.
So are we somewhere around 900 grand on parks?
Million.
$1 million.
Yes, yes.
And that's for,
That's annoying.
That's for Town Park, which we did, so that's a bigger discussion. I don't know if you're prepared to have it now. I mean, it's not, and let's have the
Parks is
discussion.
going to be a next week
Let's
discussion.
do a quick discussion, just so I can remind the committee, not of the merits of the project, but of what we did at the last town meeting. The last town meeting, we did increase our stabilization contribution by this $1 million because we knew it was coming, and I had that substantial free cash balance. So the thought was, let's take that $1 million, let's put it into our short-term stabilization, make some money off of it, which we did. We put that additional $1 million there because we knew this was coming. So we could, if we wanted to, use that as a funding source. The alternative would be, I do have $2.8 million in free cash.
I was going to say, didn't we, I thought we left like 2.3 million in cash in October, partly for the parks.
Yes.
But you're saying, so we could have taken it just out of the cash in the account or in the short-term stabilization?
Right, but it becomes, so that you take it out of stabilization, and then you have more free cash that you put in stabilization, and it
All right.
Exactly. So I'm proposing,
doesn't-
which I don't know if, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
No, this is all-
Right now, I'm suggesting that the articles, as I see it, can fit within free cash. It almost depletes everything, so you know.
Okay, but hold on, before we get carried away, all right, I understand the $1 million on parks that could come out of short-term stabilization or out of the cash. The
Cash balance.
The free cash balance.
Excess and deficiency.
What else do we have for material items on the warrant?
You have, I wish I printed it, I didn't. You have 115,000 for,
Just to quickly bring Al up to speed, we're talking about, we'd be up to 600,000 off the objective if we adopted the 7.82. Now we're talking about the curriculum.
900.
But Zach is saying, well, not necessarily, because you don't have to take that out of raise and appropriate. You could take it out of the free cash balance.
The only danger is capital is set at 1.7 million in the budget. There's no way that we're only going to spend 1.7 if we have a choice. So if you wipe out the free cash, you're running a risk of not having enough.
Fair question.
could be. And it is, most of the free cash that I derive in past years is out of health insurance, which we're getting nothing out of this year. So, yeah.
But let's get all the information in front of everybody, at least, if we can. So I'm not concerned about $25,000 items, Zach, but is it possible to talk about the other big dollar items in the warrant?
Yeah.
Take your time.
Might be easier if I go print something.
Why don't you
quick.
do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, hang tight.
Don't you usually have your little fancy thing with the... No, but you have something on the back that says the dollar impact of each article? Look at this.
But we,
Oh, but you
some
haven't
of the
filled it in
articles
yet.
haven't been filled in yet.
Yeah. All right.
You know what you could do while we're waiting? Start going down the articles and knock off the ones that are easy.
Okay. Well, Article 1 is really just
Reports.
reports.
We don't even vote usually on Article 1 because it's reports.
So what is that, a refer to sponsor? What is that?
We don't even vote. Skip.
Just skip
Skip
it. Skip it. I like it. All right.
Make a motion to skip.
No, that's legit. We can make,
Article 2 is the Personnel Board. These are what, the non-union workers?
Let's skip that one for right now.
You want to skip
I'm
that?
going to ask you a bunch of questions. Yeah, so
All right.
let's skip.
If anybody has questions, we're gonna skip it to next week. But it's a long one. All right, hold on. Article 3 is salaries of elected officials. Anybody want to discuss that?
my understanding is that, Rick, 3%?
3%, correct, yes.
Okay. Does anybody want to discuss it, or is there a motion? Do we want to pass on it for now, until next week? Those are the options.
I make a motion, we accept it, because what's not on the official warrant that is on our report is every position that's listed above, how that compares to last year. And it ranges between 2.99% and 3% increase.
Okay, so there's
If we're comfortable with 3%, we could vote to
There's a motion by Al. If there's a second, we can see if there's any discussion. Second by Brant. Any discussion? No discussion? Vote, Carly?
Yes. Sorry, I forgot him first.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Bobby? Robert DeVita?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so favorable on 3, Al. Article 4, we skip right now, that's the overall budget. Article 5, isn't this the usual? All right, let's suspend this while we revisit what Zach has.
Prefer not to distribute it to everyone.
Okay. So we got, let's talk about the material items. We got the cameras
Yep.
at 275. We've got decorative lights, so that brings us up to 300. The
lights, excuse me, are 35. I don't know if you got the up.
I did see that, yeah, I'm just rounding.
Okay.
The PFS, the PFASs, that's the chemicals, the forever chemicals on Birch Street is 75. That's 375. The police firing range that
I
may,
talked to Robbie. He said if we need to pass that over till fall, he can do it by doing some little patching.
okay, but to your point, it still becomes a fall item, so it doesn't go off in outer space, right?
Right, but
okay.
for this
All right, so-
upcoming town meeting, they'll be passed over.
And then you've got Treasury rescind authorized and unissued debt.
It's just rescinding some.
Okay, well, we're going to ignore that. Replace tabulated devices, that's 40,000. We talked about the town park, that's $1 million. And the 350 for the curriculum. Prospect Heights, a drain pipe for the highway for 110. Then you've got a couple of items here, Zach. Return circuit breaker funds. Return circuit breaker funds, is that an offset?
Yeah, no, if you recall, excuse me, I had at the direction of the Department of Revenue, had to close out money that was in a special revenue fund, and it's supposed to be like a not exceed balance, and they ended up being wrong. I knew they were wrong, they were insistent they were right, they came back months later, so this would be me reimbursing circuit breaker, which is a special education account.
Okay.
Should have never been closed in the first place.
And then snow and ice for a couple $100,000. So what does all this add up to? Let's put the park aside for the second.
Look on the right, the middle column, 2.4 million, it all adds up to.
2.4 million. And so if we paid for the park out of the short-term stabilization, it would be 1.4 out of cash of 2.8.
Yeah, and actually looking at cash is 2.48, so I misspoke, 2.5 million.
So we get 2.5 in cash. We have 2.4 in requests.
Yes.
And if we paid the $1 million from parks out of short-term stabilization, because Zach says we put $1 million in there in October for that purpose, and I think that's right, that would mean we'd be drawing down our 2.5 of cash by 1.4 million, leaving us with $1 million, and then who knows what else to leave us with free cash in the fall to deal with the myriad issues that we have in the fall, right?
Yes.
That's if we wanted to try to accommodate this curriculum thing and the 7.82%. I don't want to go too far afield here, Al. Is there anything we should be talking about in terms of fall capital that you think is worthy of?
Not at this point. At this point, it's $3.5 million.
That's the ask.
The asks, the almost asks.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to whittle that down substantially anyway.
Right.
The good Dr. Villani came through and whittled down his piece already, so that helps.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, David.
So in years past, I think we put some of that free cash into stabilization to put aside maybe for the school, right, the new high school. So are we missing that opportunity
No, we
this year?
did both. We did both.
You did both?
We had, just like you see on the sheet that you were looking at, our goals and objectives are on the bottom right-hand side. You see stabilization contribution. This year, it's 1.8 million. At the October meeting, the last town meeting, it was 1.7 and change. We made it 2.7. The 1.7 went to our long-term traditional account like you're talking about.
Okay.
The other million went to our short-term.
Short-term.
We had
Okay.
$7 million in free cash last fall. We used 1.7 to get our excess levy back up to the 6 million.
Yes.
We put an extra million in stabilization.
That's good work.
We had about 2 million in capital, and then we left about 2 million in the general account.
So that's good work done. So we not lose, so we put away cash for the school, and we still have that maybe $1 million, whatever left for capital projects in the fall. Good job, thank you.
On top of the 1.75 that we budget.
And pop the 1.75. Oh, because it's coming from free cash, yeah.
The million comes from free
Free
cash.
cash, right.
So
budgeted
we're
that.
assuming that we're going to budget 1.75 again.
Raise and appropriate.
Raise and
Yes.
appropriate.
Both, yeah.
Right, that's good.
So it's not, if we only had $1 million going in, we'd be in deep sneakers.
That was right.
So we have 2.7 projected.
Can I ask another question, though? What is the, if we change the levy rate, right, do you know what the tax effect is on that? Is there a tax?
$80 a million.
Yeah.
$80 a million for the change in the levy rate, is that what it is?
Well, the,
You mean as you eat up the levy?
What's
Is
that?
what you're saying? That
No,
what-
I'm just saying, because if we,
now, the excess levy capacity is $6 million that we're not taxing people.
correct, right?
And $80 per million is the general rule for a taxpayer. So if we reduced our excess levy from 6 million to 5 million, assume everybody gets hit with another $80.
So, and this is,
An
right.
average size house, right?
So so to say everything equal with the school put in the budget that they presented to us today, we'll be about $500,000, $600,000 short. So it's potential like $48 will be an extra
Yes.
increase in tax.
And then another $40 for the curriculum. Right?
Curriculum.
Now, but what Al and I had talked about was if we're going to be short our goal, another goal we could set is when we get to the fall, first money out on free cash would be to get us back to the 6 million.
Get back, perfect, okay.
Right?
Similar to how you mentioned we did in this current cycle in
Right.
October.
Right,
Yes.
got it.
Right.
Yes.
That's where my head is with this too. I mean, I think I think about that because if I'm doing this right, because I'm looking off of the forms that we have two different sets of numbers for everybody who's watching because the number that came in isn't what's in here, but it looks like their increase will be 5.7-ish. What the school's asking for, 5.7 million. That is. I know that the percentage is different. I'm thinking dollars.
Oh,
Does that sound right?
dollars, yeah, that makes
Maybe like
sense.
5.7.
Sounds about right.
But Chapter 70, I think they said, was about $5.7 million. And, if we start carving into that, we're principally saying, out of the operating budget, the state is giving us 5.7 million more. Now, it's still our money, state money, we pay into the state, we contribute to the state, but I get nervous if we were to contemplate saying, let's let the increase be less than the Chapter 70 increase, because that means we're kind of consuming it someplace else.
You completely miss in that rationale that the fact that we have
Whole bunch of debt coming in.
substantial indirect costs.
Yeah.
I just mentioned, you don't know. if
Or
you're
got a
at the
whole bunch of
the
healthcare.
current budget, we're $500,000 short. It's directly related to school hires in the ESSER grant. Directly related.
That's fine. I still feel the same way.
It's fine.
Yeah, I feel the same way, though. I mean, I think I would like it if our accounting was complete, because we continually see it separate, and I know it's in a separate line, and we never see the total school budget until we get that year-end thing. I know about that. But I still look at it and say, history would tell us that the free cash that's going to be available, even though it'll be less, should get us back to our goal. And I am sensitive to that, still my point about how much Chapter 70 is going up and how much we're giving, how much the town is giving, because the state money is the overwhelming majority of what they're
It is,
asking.
but also keep in mind, if you were to match that, you'd be advocating for a massive override.
We can't match it, and that's why I didn't want to touch the article, Andy, though, because it's another example where our contract negotiations are hamstringing our future.
Yeah.
And it's like we have a real crisis coming, because you see every time we talk about one of these things, it's like, well, the contract increase is more than the income increase. And the budget is mostly people, and that's all you heard in their conversation when you listen to the real theme of why this is going up. The contracts and the chutes and ladders and all these things. And I know we're not going to go renegotiate anything right now, but we have to contemplate this, because this is going to get harder every year.
Yeah.
The thing to be careful of is, right now, if you look back over the last couple decades, our contribution goes up,
Yep. Whenever
compared to the state, and then some years it goes down. Goes up, goes down. Right now, we're in the down part of the cyclic curve.
It's about to go up,
But
right?
in 2 years, when we have to come up with 10 million incremental dollars or so, state isn't going to give us 10 million a year extra.
Oh, absolutely not. And that's why we need the stabilization money.
So we just have to be careful that when we're on the downside of the sinusoidal curve, it's always, well, the state's giving us more, more, more. Well, in 2 or 3 years, you're not going to go to the school committee and say, the state's percentage, because of our interest payments, is going way down, so cut your budget.
Yeah, so for people that are relatively new,
A lot of moving parts there. Sorry.
For people that are relatively new, the Chapter 70 state aid has been going up over the last 5 years at substantial percentages, 7 to 10% a year. And so the school department's argument has been that because their percentage increases in many instances have been less than the Chapter 70 increase, that they're costing the town less money than other departments, and therefore they're entitled to more money. The counter argument that Zach was just raising is that there are some indirect costs. For example, I think 80% of the town employees are now, that are on health insurance, are part of the school department, and that line item's going up by 10% this year. About 70 or 80% of the debt service this year is allocable to the schools, and we're obviously trying to set aside a fair amount of the excess levy capacity for the high school. So it's a little complicated, but all this, but to the sustainability issue, when we get to the point, what happens when the Chapter 70 money doesn't even have to be cut? It just has to come in at a year at 3% instead of 10%. We're going to have $3 million that we're looking for. So
Just for level funding.
just for level funding. So it's a big problem. The whole thing is fundamentally on precarious grounds, but we can't do anything about that right now. I think we're just going to have to take it 1 year at a time. Go ahead, Al.
And, Brant, the only number we should count on is, unless you stop doing it, once a year you had to prepare a report to the state that said, here are the total costs. None of this, well, we do part of parks, we do part, the biggest health insurance piece is the school. But if I remember, I used to use the number that you did at the end of the year that said, we have spent $100 on school, no matter where it's allocated in there.
Yeah, fully allocated all in.
So we want to be careful that when we say 80 million, that's not the whole budget by a long shot. But do you still do that report?
Yeah, we have to meet.
I thought it was law.
Foundation budget, yes, the end of year reports.
But that's
I
the
provide
number.
the indirect costs. Wen and Kathy Perry in the past, they do that side, but that's what satisfies. If you do not meet the thresholds, they cut your Chapter 70, and we are well beyond our thresholds.
And that's the number we should use, because that's the true cost to the town of Milford of educating our kids.
Okay, so I think everybody has all the information in front of them. I think the first order of business is Article 4, which is the overall budget. Go ahead, Al.
I would wait on it, putting a number in Article 4, unless we're absolutely sure nothing's going to change.
We don't even have the exact number to vote on it, because we still don't know.
Well, we got the P and L of 177, 108.
They just have to make the decision if they want to.
Well, I'm not sure if I understand your question, Al.
Article 4 is saying our budget for the upcoming year will be X. I don't know that we're ready to say exactly X. Are we?
Are you?
Well, no, I mean, Zach is asking, are you guys intellectually ready? You seem to be asking a math question. Do we have all the numbers correctly?
Right. Intellectually, yes.
It's either this 161,975,166.
Wait a minute, where's that number coming from?
The submitted budget.
Can I ask a clarification question? Like, the school, when they come in, right, we can't, we can't say to them, go back to sharpen your pencils for another 200,000, can we? Like, who does, like who's approving that budget? I mean, we can accept it, we can accept it.
You're
but
going to
not
make a
approve it.
decision to
The town meeting approve.
We can tell them that for us to support the budget, they have to cut $52.
So we can do that.
We can tell them that. Now, whether they do it or not, that's up to them, and town meeting is the one that's going to decide. The problem is, if they don't cut it,
Right,
and they don't have a balanced budget,
right.
if town meeting, my understanding is if town meeting approves an unbalanced budget, you got to balance it on the town meeting floor. which means you cut it from somewhere else.
Because they're not meeting the directive of the financial team's charge, right? So, I mean, I don't know how that.
They don't have to.
There's a disconnect there, that's all. They don't have to?
Dave, they're elected officials. They can come in and say, we want 900 million. Now, they got to go in front of town meeting, and the odds on getting to town meeting and saying, hey, Robbie, cut 2 police officers. Hey, Mark, cut 2 firefighters are pretty low.
Okay.
So, there has been a little bit of back and forth between the school committee chair and Zach, for instance, about trying to get to the numbers we'd like. Ultimately, this process has been going on for the last 2 months.
Right, exactly.
Right? So, at some point, we either have to say, we're objecting to their number, and presumably that means there would be a dispute at town meeting over what the number is ultimately going to be. Or we vote to adopt the 7.82, and to Zach's point, I assume we have an operating budget as submitted right now of 161,975, comma 166. I'm reading that off the so-called balance sheet, the horizontal document on the right-hand side under total operating budget submitted. Now, this number, Zach, I assume, has the school number at the 7.5.
Yes.
Okay.
Or that's the number.
And so if you adopted the 7.82% budget that the school has requested, putting aside the curriculum, you're looking at 162,178,166.
Yes.
So the answer to your question, Al, is yes, we have the math. The question is, do people want to vote? And I mean,
If we're comfortable with the number, I'd say go for it.
okay. So is there any further discussion, or does somebody want to make a propose a motion?
Motion to accept 162, 178, 166.
Okay, so,
What
okay, so Al has made a motion to accept the budget as modified, which would be 162,178,166, which would be for an operating budget of the school department of 7.82%. That has been seconded by Brent. Go ahead, David.
Can we somehow put in there a clarifying point that acknowledging it didn't meet the financial team's budget objective or not?
That will be
Did
in the
every other
commentary of the...
Did every other
They
department?
did, that's the thing.
Did every other department?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know the answer
That's
to
why
that.
I wouldn't, that's why I'm not sure.
And I don't think a motion is the appropriate place for commentary. I understand your question, but I don't think this...
Commentary goes into the paragraph of...
Excellent point.
Info.
In the report that we
Okay,
file,
all right.
we can say, we had requested 7.5, they deviated,
Perfect,
and
okay.
we've acknowledged
All
that.
right.
That's what that FinCom report gives us the
All right,
leeway
all
to
right.
do,
That's okay.
is to add in background so people understand.
Okay, good point. Further discussion? Okay, so we have the motion by Al, seconded by Brandt, to adopt the budget as modified with the amounts that I identified. Carly?
Yes, sorry.
David?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Okay, we appear to have lost David, I'm sorry, Robert. So we have unanimous with Robert abstaining on Article 4. Okay. So I think we can go back to the articles now and see if we can knock out a few. We're going to have to bring 3 or 4 people in, I think, next week. So Zach, while you're out of the room, we skip, we're gonna not take any position on Article 1. Article 2, Brandt asked that we defer on. Article 3, Article 3 was favorable. Article 4 is favorable as modified. Okay, and this is when you walk back in the room, this is where I was, Zach. Article 5, isn't that like a standard
That's the consolidation of all the ongoing reoccurring.
panoply of responsibilities and powers that the treasurer has, et cetera? So these are various things that we empower the treasurer to do each year, to, send out delinquency notices, to, enter into settlement agreements, et cetera, et cetera. Questions? Motion.
Make a motion.
Motion by Vin to vote favorable on Article 5.
A second.
Seconded by Brandt. Discussion? None. Carly?
Yes.
Thank you.
There you go.
David?
Yes.
Bill? Al?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren? Michael?
Yes.
It's unanimous. It looks like Bob may have left the meeting. Leanne, you can keep an eye out for that, but, okay. So 5 is favorable.
I can do 6 quick if you want.
Go ahead, Zach.
Article 6 is vending machine funds. It's also somewhat, it is recurring. It's exactly what it says it is.
How much is it?
It's $4,797.15.
Okay, so this is
Motion?
favorable motion by Brandt,
Second.
seconded by Carly. This is for the school committee to keep the vending machine.
Potato
money.
Yeah,
chip
it has to go to the
Potato
general fund. We send it back. That's all.
Send it back.
Potato chip money.
Yeah.
Okay, Brandt, seconded by Carly.
Yes.
Carly.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
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 Lauren.
Yes.
Yes.
Michael. Okay, so Article 6 is approved for a favorable vote unanimously. 7 is the cameras. Should we bring Mr. George in next week? Okay.
Especially since he told us unofficially that he's cut the project proposal back.
He has modified it.
Leanne, can you do me a favor? After this meeting is over, can you send me an email of all the people we're putting on the list for next week? So Chris George will be the first one, and that goes with Article 7. Article 8, I've got for you, Rick.
Yeah, basically, if you're familiar with the decorative poles out in front along Main Street, this is a proposal, I discussed this with Scott. Highway's going to take over the repair, maintenance, and replacement of those poles. Before, we were doing it on an individual basis, hiring a vendor to do that. It was costing us anywhere from $10,000 to $13,000 per replacement. He is going to, we have a quote to purchase up to 5 poles. He can store them at the highway barn. That's about $25,000. The additional quote, if you look at the top of the poles, they have those decorative light fixtures on top of them. We also want to purchase 4 or 5 of those. That's $10,000. We estimate that we will able to reduce our cost by about $5,000 per pole. We right now have 2 that are down that I'm aware of, maybe more. So this is a way to bring it in-house and save money. The reason I want to do it now, don't want to wait till October, is we can start saving money now. We have poles that need replacing.
Okay. And Al, the capital is reviewed?
No, we haven't.
Okay, have there been any, what do you call them, cut sheets or anything like that? I mean,
Oh, Rick's going to supply those.
I did. You have.
Oh, I have those.
you
I
have
got
quotes
those the
for
other
both.
day
Yeah, you have quotes for
with
both.
the quotes.
Yeah.
My omission. I should have done it tonight.
I have them here, but I only have one set.
Are you good to go forward with this?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it makes sense because we're spending the money anyway. If somebody takes one out, do we get insurance money back?
If someone takes one out, and obviously we have a police report and we have a liable party, we then pursue it through legal, we get reimbursed, yes. Problem is that, 1, weather sometimes takes them out. 2, you have hit and runs in the middle of the night where you don't have a third party, and it's that very, very rare occasion that, when we're plowing or something, they can get damaged.
So how much is the total?
$35,000 for the article?
Yep.
$35,000.
I was just going to give you a quick example of what happened 2 or 3 weeks ago in front of my office. There's a light pole right exactly in front of my desk. The wind, it was so windy the last few weeks, the wind blew one over and missed my window by about 5 feet. A big smash, everybody looked, and there it was. So the wind that knocked down the one, and they just finished replacing it today. So
Yeah.
it's out there.
All right.
We also have a bucket truck that we can use now of our own, that we don't have to get the fire department involved. Before, the fire department used to have to come out, and that was an additional cost.
Okay.
So now we can do it on our own, but it just makes sense. I mean, I don't like doing it now, but it makes sense.
Okay, I understand. Motion? Motion by David for favorable, second by Vin. Any discussion? Carly?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, so that was Article 8. Nine. Can you do this one?
Yeah,
Rick?
I think we can. Obviously, you realize that we do have a PFAS contamination problem at 19 Birch Street Fire Station. We're under an immediate response plan with DEP. We have hired a licensed professional to oversee the plan. We now need to implement the action under the plan. DEP put strict timelines on this, so we need an additional $75,000 to produce the paperwork for the next part of the plan.
So, and for everyone's benefit, these are the so-called forever chemicals, right? The
Yeah,
PFAS
and-
chemicals that were,
They used it at the fire station years ago. Nobody knew
right.
the effects or the ill effects.
And so we've got some ground contamination at the Birch Street Fire Station. This is not, what is this number, 75,000?
Yes.
This is not for the cleanup per se. This is for engineering and consulting and preparation.
Correct.
Okay.
This is step one of planning, to think of what we might possibly do.
Yes. All good.
Make a motion.
Motion by Brandt to authorize that payment. Seconded by David. Discussion. Carly?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Yes.
Michael, thank you. Okay, so that's a favorable on Article 9. Okay, so I can delete that one. So what's the consensus on the firing range, Al? Is that
Chief
agreed?
Tassino has said he'd like to do it now, but since money is tight, he can do some patching and deal with it in the fall. So I was going to ask him if the board agrees to pass this article over until the fall.
Mentioned the same to me as well.
What was the ask again? I'm sorry,
It's
forget.
$150,000 to repair, rehab the interior firing range at the police department?
Apparently, to replace the firing range is $600,000. This is as a result of shooting bullets at things. You can only shoot so many bullets before you wear it out.
Yeah, he provided some pictures to the capital subcommittee. There was obvious wear.
And so what's the rationale here that it's not an emergency? Because if we're going to have to spend the money, it's a zero-sum game whether we do it now or in October. But the argument is not an emergency.
That it's not unforeseen, and it's not an emergency, and it's not special circumstance.
Okay.
But if you wanted to do it now, if the board said, let's just get it over with, we could.
Okay, but then you would argue, if you didn't just say that it's the slippery slope of everybody piling in May.
Yes, when we don't know how much money we have.
Right.
If Chief Tassino said, I really need it, I would be 100% behind it. But where he said, I can go 4 or 5 months by just patching some stuff, it seems like we should stay to our SOP.
Okay, so remember, we had this issue last year that we can't unilaterally pass things over. It's the sponsor of the article. See, I remembered, Rick.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's the sponsor of the article, and I guess we can take your representation that you had the discussion with.
Both of us have heard from Chief Tassino that
I'd still bless it and wait till next meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's, I mean, am I going to invite him in for
I
that?
don't know, let's.
You want to have a conversation to confirm
Yeah,
it?
same conversation.
Okay, all right, so we're going to defer that until
Yeah,
next
Rick,
week.
if you would just reach out to Chief Tassino saying,
let you know. I can-
you've said this, we're going to take action on it unless you have an objection.
Okay.
That would be proper.
See if
Okay.
anybody wants to do it.
Article 11, Rick, I don't know if you can answer this. Accrued versus granted?
Yeah, so when we hire a person initially, new person, okay, they accrue for a period of time, vacation. This is just changing for those people. Once you're here in your second, third year, you are granted vacation. So all it is replacing the word accrued with granted in 2 sections.
If it's accrued, I would think it's granted.
It's really semantics, but this is a personnel board, so don't.
But the separation, does that matter, though? Because typically, if somebody separates from an organization X number of months in, it's a standard thing to say how much how much vacation time is accrued. You haven't earned your full year's worth. You know, your benefit.
This only changes it in the paragraphs for those people who have already been here.
But I mean like mid-year, like you've been here for 15 years and you leave halfway through the year. If there's vacation left, people want to get paid for it, and that has to be accrued.
But I think what Rick is...
No, that's granted. So if after 5 years, you get 3 weeks.
So if I leave halfway through the year, I get paid the 5 weeks worth? Because in an accrual basis, you would
Depends
get...
on what you used and haven't used.
So I'm asking how much this is going to cost us.
Yeah, that's why everybody retires 1/1, correct.
They
yeah.
get their balance.
So-
Depends on what they've used.
I
If you
understand.
retire 7/1, you don't get a full year. You get 6 months worth.
If we change it
It's
to
granted on that.
All you do is
page.
get your unused.
Just unused.
The remaining
We're
of
making
your
a lot out of
unused.
this.
I'd like to cut through this. I understood what you were saying earlier to be this grant language is only for what's already accrued. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, it's someone who's, for example, again, if you've been here 5 years, you get 15 days.
Yeah, but it's not
That is
stub year. That's how many
granted.
years. I'm thinking about the middle of a year, a fraction of a year.
You could be here for 15 years and get granted 10 days. You could work 3 months and only have accrued 3 of the 10 days. Or
Correct.
Yes.
Perfect.
Well, what are we paying out on? The accrued word? Or
When you say granted, that means they get paid on the full amount. So I think there's a cost to
Are we
this.
That's what they get
expanding?
paid out on, right?
Yeah, you get
That's what-
grant, yeah.
And again, that's why
After-
people stay till 1/1, because they get granted 4 weeks.
So, but I'm not supportive of that. I'm not supportive of paying people a full year's worth of
You have
vacation.
to. That's
Have to.
the way it's done.
Yeah, exactly.
We're making
I
a lot out of
have
this.
to.
Yeah,
If I retire
There's no
early
there's no incremental cost to this.
January 1st,
No.
Yeah, we're
Feels
going
like
to
it.
rapid.
2007, I
Hold on.
get 2007, my full, how does that make any sense?
Hold on. I'd like this to be explained to me like I'm 10. If I'm here 1 year, what I hear Brant asking, I want to make sure everyone understands it in the simplest terms, is you get 10 vacation days in year 1, and you accrue it ratably over time, so you get 1 day a month or however the math works. What I'm hearing Brant's question is, does this mean that the guy who comes in and is only here for 2 months, who normally would have only accrued 2 days under that example because we're changing the language from accrued to granted, now walks away with 10 days for the year rather than the 2?
No.
No.
So how about in my 10th year?
Then yes,
Yeah.
granted as of that 10th year, yeah.
That's
So my
vacation.
10th year, if I leave 2 months into my 10th year, I get paid the full year's worth.
Because
Correct.
you're getting the vacation earned effectively on the first day of the year.
It's right in the personnel bar.
You're fully accrued on
Full
day
year,
one.
Okay,
your full accrual,
And
right.
the argument for doing this now, Rick, is what?
Just to make it clearer, that's all. I on purpose honestly don't know that it's real.
Well, is it to make it...
It makes it clearer, that's all.
Is this the policy we've in fact been using?
Since I've been here, and
Yeah,
I'm sure
yes,
before,
I am.
yeah.
So this is not a change in policy?
No.
Just a language.
It's worded,
Literally
strictly
worded.
simple.
So that guy that he's worried about in year 10...
It's already happened.
It's already
Happening
happened.
either
It's
way.
already happened.
Yes.
That's another problem. That's not what we're here to vote on, though.
That's been happening the past 50 years.
Yeah, you're not going to
By
change.
law.
So you might gather that that's not the way our world is, from the questions. That's why we're asking.
Private sector, yes, that's not the way it is.
Got it. So we're not here to vote on
I
that.
know it's a different.
We
era.
have been.
I come from there too.
Municipal is wonderful.
So there's refer to sponsor, there's favorable...
It's a $0 article, right?
Yes.
So refer to sponsor, please.
Okay, so there's a motion by David to refer to sponsor.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Brant. Any further discussion? Okay, Carly.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren.
Yes,
Thank you. Okay, so Article 11 is refer to sponsor. 12, can you talk for Chris?
Tell you conceptually, but I'm not prepared for you guys to have a motion because I don't have the numbers. So,
Oh, do we need Chris next week? Or-
yeah, either way to vote. So why don't you just table it?
If we're not going to vote on it, there's no
Yeah,
point in...
table it, yeah.
Okay, so 12 is being deferred. You're going to bring Chris in or whatever to next week? Okay. Article 12, Chris, Leanne? Okay. 13, transferring land to the Conservation Commission.
For the sponsor.
Making a motion?
I'll second Tom's.
I'll make the motion, refer to sponsor.
Motion by Brandt to refer to sponsor. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Carly. Okay. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Lauren.
Yes.
Okay, so Article 13 is referred to sponsor. What was it? It's 12. We got to get Chris in. I'm just going to keep my notes here. All right, Article 14. Did we get an affirmative? I think we got an affirmative statement from them that they're passing over, right? How do we decide we're handling these procedurally? Are we accepting their motion to pass over? Is that what we're doing? Does anybody remember what we did last year?
Voted to pass it over.
All right, so because we have the sponsors' agreement to pass over, I guess we're just confirming that. So why don't we just do this by a quick roll call vote?
No.
Which one is
No,
this?
no by David. You want the roof.
I want them to remediate the roof.
They're
Yeah.
going to,
They are.
but they're going to do it internally.
What's that? Internally?
They're going to use their own
I
resources.
heard that, but I still don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a motion to pass over with the agreement of the sponsor with a no vote from David. 15, I don't know, pages of
I
floodplains.
can make this run real quick. if
Go
you want.
ahead, Rick.
Up to you.
Go ahead.
It's really a housekeeping article
Yeah.
to amend Article 5 of the floodplain district of the zoning bylaw. FEMA has adopted a new flood study and flood map plan. So this really just adopts that, and that keeps us eligible to participate in in the FEMA flood insurance program. That's all it is. Strictly, it's a lot of verbiage,
Okay.
but that's all it is.
Okay.
Can I ask where the floodplain is?
Where the floodplain is. The floodplain district, it's in various, if you look at the floodplain map, it's various
I
districts
assume
around
some of
town.
it is down in the plains, right, where Olivas is and whatnot. Does FEMA come in and actually look at or are they just making some sort of a global, are they
I
actually?
believe they come in, but again, this is not my article, but believe me, that's all it is.
Okay.
I mean, you can bring someone in if you want, but
Make a motion to refer to sponsor.
Motion by David to refer to sponsor,
Second.
seconded by Vin. Discussion, roll call.
Yes.
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 Lauren.
Yes.
Michael. Okay, so that's Article 15, unanimous, refer to sponsor. 16. What is this? Is this more conservation land?
Who's the sponsor?
15?
16.
15 was the planning board, 16 is the conservation commission.
First, make a motion to refer to sponsor.
4 acres to be transferred to the Milford Conservation Commission. Refer to sponsor by David. Seconded by Vin. Discussion.
Yes.
Carly.
Yes.
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 Lauren.
Yes.
Okay, it's Article 16, unanimous, refer to sponsor. 17. Special legislation for a liquor license. Didn't we see this movie last town meeting?
I think so.
Somebody tried to get a liquor license? It's-
I don't think it was that one, but yeah.
No, I imagine it'd be the same dispute.
it was hotly debated.
The one
know what
last
this was?
meeting was a new liquor license next to Shaw's.
Yes.
But this is a
This
new
is
liquor license.
liquor license next to Stacy Elementary.
Good luck.
Stacy Elementary.
Charlie's.
Was it Charlie's?
Charlie's.
Oh, he's been doing that for a while, I thought. I thought he got that already. He didn't get it?
He's
Charlie
requesting,
didn't get it?
this is for,
This is for an all alcohol, he has a beer and
Oh,
wine.
he has a beer.
beer and
Oh, this is
This is
so he
for
can
an
sell
all
nuts and
alcohol.
stuff.
Beer then.
I didn't know.
No,
Not a drinker, so I'm not sure.
Okay, that's the article.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say unfavorable. Anybody can join me if they want
There's a
to.
motion by
Second.
Brandt, by unfavorable, a second by Al. Any discussion?
Does it fall into the school zone, so many feet?
You already have a beer and wine license, though.
I don't know what the school zone parameters are.
There is, I'm not sure off the top of my head, I believe it's a notice requirement, but not a prohibition.
Okay.
Can't be more than 100 feet from Stacy.
Yeah, I think it would be within, I want to say 500, but please don't hold me to that. But I'm not so sure it's a strict prohibition, otherwise they would have been filing it. I'm pretty sure it's a notice requirement where the school then can.
This is probably got not. I know you probably don't know the answers to this, but did they ever get like a sting on Charlie's for the beer and wine yet? Do they have a good? I mean, that would. Yeah. Do they have a good record, a history of?
I have no knowledge.
I know. I mean, that will determine my vote, I guess.
Typically with these, you just let them go. Let town meeting decide.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not comfortable personally saying no to a private.
Right.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah, I just didn't know if they
town
had-
meeting floor, I might.
Well, I mean,
So here's my rationale, though, just because I think it's a good point. I blurted it out. So the location is certainly part of it, but we've had other ones that have come up. I am not a fan of creating more liquor licenses because it devalues the one we already have. I don't think we need more in town. I think they should try to buy one. I think the people who have paid for them and have gotten them.
That's the argument that was made successfully at the last town.
Then the location of this makes, a lot of times I would probably say refer to sponsor, I don't want to touch it, but the location's like, okay, that's enough, I have a kid who goes to school there, like, you're asking, so I'm voting. There it is.
I think the scary part is, let's say he is absolutely up front, good guy, who follows all the rules, and then he sells the place. Maybe the next guy in isn't so straightforward, and now you've got liquor sales 100 feet away from middle school.
Do liquor licenses follow the sale property?
Didn't that Walden Stacy have a bad reputation?
They would sell it. It'd be part of the asset if you wanted to.
I assume you have to get approval for the transfers with the ABCC, et cetera, but.
Right now, he does have a beer and wine, so alcohol is being sold there.
Right. So,
again, I'm speaking personally.
have to go
I don't
through.
like it meddling. I think you want to get up on town meeting floor and make that absolutely, but again,
is this a
not my call.
dollar warrant?
No.
First, can I make a motion for first possible?
No, you cannot.
Vote mine
because
down then.
Okay, we have to use you.
There's a motion that's been seconded. We're now in discussion.
Well,
The motion was made by Brandt, seconded by Al, to
What was
vote
the-
unfavorable.
Unfavorable?
And we're in the process of discussion right now. Is there any further discussion before we vote? And then depending on the outcome of the vote, we can consider any further motions.
I don't,
Lauren.
Sorry, Mr. Sheridan. I don't know, the location doesn't bother me because downtown is highly congested, and whoever owns it is going to have to follow the law. It's not like they're going to be selling alcohol during the school day to children. I mean, let's get over ourselves. And liquor licenses don't automatically follow the sale. It has to be transferred through a separate process. So, I mean, if we're gonna pass over things that are not financial in nature and then take a position on this, then we're being disingenuous. So we gotta decide. We're either gonna take a position on every article or not.
So the counterpoint to that would be, this is devaluing, asking to create more licenses devalues the ones that people have already bought.
Well, my counterpoint to that, the whole system is rigged by the state. So.
Probably true.
We've been trying for years, my association, to say this should be a local licensing decision, but it's not. So we're relegated to a certain number of licenses. The ABCC does, as Lauren is quite correct, does their investigations to anybody who might acquire a subsequent license. So.
Okay, I think all the points have been fairly vetted. Well, we just take a vote, and then that'll dictate where we go. So this is Brandt's vote, motion for unfavorable, seconded by Al. Roll call, Carly.
no.
No. No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Nope.
No.
My count was 3 yeses and 7 nos. So that motion was defeated. Is there another motion?
Make a motion, refer to sponsor.
Motion by Dave Levine to refer to sponsor, second by Vin. Discussion. Roll call. Carly?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Go.
Yes.
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 Lauren?
Yes.
Mike?
yes,
Okay, so Article 17 is referred to sponsor. I got that right? Yeah, that's 17. Okay. 18, some tabulated devices. That sounds like a Rick question.
It's the clerk, but it's pretty straightforward. They have a proposal to upgrade their tabulators. I guess there's a limited time. There's a manufacturer's incentive discount of $12,000, so that reduces the cost from $52,000 to $40,000. The discount offer, I'm told, expires on August 1st.
Okay, and Zach, your secret sheet is 40,000, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's all I have.
These are the voting machines.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we have a choice.
Well, I think that's why she put it, we put it on the warrant now, and that's the information we have.
Okay.
Do the old tabulators have any value? Don't know.
Yeah.
Making it
I'm always trying to make a dime.
Making an offer?
I'm always trying to make a dime. Huh?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Maybe if it's metal?
I'll get you an answer
David, I
tomorrow.
don't think she's
If they
getting
do,
rid
they
of the
can be
old.
declared surplus.
Some of it says replacement, that's why, it says replacement.
Upgrading 10 tabulator devices.
I thought it said replacement.
To be utilized for replacement or
and
upgrading.
Yeah, so,
I can't imagine there's much value in
Tabulations? We can-
old voting machines. Because
Some-
remember, the voting machines have to be upgraded every election,
but, yeah.
or programmed every election.
Motion.
Favorable.
Motion by Alpha favorable, seconded by Vin. Any further discussion? Carly?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Michael?
yes,
Okay, so Article 18 is favorable. 19, is this a Chris question?
Yeah, you may want to wait for Chris on that one. for the next
Okay, so,
I thought this was the one where Dr. Fitz came and said he wants to create
It is.
an account, but there's no money going
It
in.
is, that's exactly right.
To me, it's refer to sponsor.
No, I
Or you
think
could go favorable,
Yeah,
because
I think-
I can't imagine we're telling him to start planning for the future, and then you say, well, he wants to create a stabilization account.
well, Chris is going to be
Yeah,
here.
Mr. Chair, you may want to wait for Chris, because he can give you an update of what other communities are doing, and I
Okay.
believe it's not all
I
positive.
mean, if Chris wasn't going to be here.
Okay, so
you know,
do it.
We're going to have him here on 12, I think. That's what, Article 19. 20,
I'd ask you pass that one till next week, too. The assessor wasn't here, I wanted to get some info from her, and/or may suggest she come in.
should I invite her?
Yeah, I'll touch base with you tomorrow after I talk to her.
Okay.
Yep.
21 is parks. We will be
I would suggest
inviting them.
they come in.
Yeah, so Leanne, Article 21, we're going to have to invite,
Capital Committee, we asked questions that couldn't be answered, like,
who are we inviting? Is it Jim?
well, the Parks Commissioners.
Okay, that's what, Scott?
Scott, Joe Arcudi,
Raza?
Paul Braza, and Jim Aslam. Because the question came up, we have 3 bathrooms built into the bid. We don't need 3 bathrooms. It's nice to have. How much money would we save by having 2 bathrooms or the mandatory 1 bathroom? And do we need more than 1 bathroom? Now, we've got a citizen, Harold Rhodes, who's usually up on ADA issues, who said you only need 1 bathroom. It's nice to have 2 or 3. So the Capital Committee asked the question, how much money are we putting into having 2 extra bathrooms? If it's 10 grand or 20 grand, probably worth it. If it's 100 or 200 out of the 900,000,
Mr. Chairman, I always go back to that grant. Does it stipulate how many bathrooms?
no.
Okay.
You have to be ADA
That
compliant.
was it? Okay.
And that was the point where originally we were told 3 bathrooms is ADA. It is, but it's not mandatory to have 3. It's mandatory to have 1 ADA compliant bathroom, as the information supplied by citizen Harold Rhodes. But he was on the commission, so he's usually pretty accurate.
Yes,
Can I
Connie?
just ask a quick clarifying question? The original project, I'm going to say phases, might not be the right word, had 3 sections.
Yes.
This, can you tell me, this helps us do what? Finish section 1, finish section 1, 2, do all 3?
The grant was to finish Town Park, my understanding. Yes. It did not have Pearl Street basketball, so that's been siphoned off. The proposal to town meeting was that we would get an updated bandstand, an updated town park, and an updated, I call it a bathhouse, but the house. So the grant doesn't say any details. My understanding is we've got till next May to finish all the projects of the grant, but that does not mean the details have to be fulfilled. Nobody said 3 bathrooms.
But the dollar amount that's behind this is not doing Pearl Street, everything at
Correct.
Town Park,
Yes.
which would be inclusive of that.
The original
It's
proposal.
like the first 2.
Yeah, I was just trying to
The
get
original
my
proposal to town meeting was you get 4 things for $2 million. That was the grant money of 1.3, and then supplemental Milford money. It's been cut now to you get 1 thing for $2 million. $2 million was spent on just the town park infrastructure. The house, the bathhouse, whatever you want to call it, is another $900,000 or $875. And Pearl Street basketball, it was estimated at $400,000, pushed aside. And I think they're going to fix up the bandstand a little bit.
That's part of the proposal.
It's an extension, I think.
Yeah.
Let's make it larger.
Well, to
More instrument-
update it,
Yeah.
but that's,
It's an extension.
That's what's in this.
yeah, Pearl Street, because my concern was, do we have to do Pearl Street to meet the grant requirements, or will they claw back money? And what I've been explained is, no, they don't. And do we have to have it done this year? It has to be this coming fiscal year, so all the way to May of '26.
That's good.
But you've got 3 basketball courts in the youth center. Why do you need another one across the street?
Vinny, that ship has sailed.
All right, since we're passing that over to next week, let's move on. Do people want to defer to next week, the curriculum issue? Do they want to think on this some more, or do people want to address it?
This was the one we just talked about?
About half an hour ago.
Yeah. I'm ready to go forward, but
Make a motion.
I'll make a favorable motion.
And so do we need to separately identify the source of funds? if we're
Not in the
gonna-
motion.
Not
no.
in the motion?
And it's actually I have on here 350. I had highlighted because it was an estimate. We heard tonight 340.
340.
That's what we would go with,
Yeah.
340.
So Brant is making a motion to vote favorable on Article 22, which is the elementary literacy curriculum that we talked about, whatever that was, a half an hour ago.
A second.
Seconded by Carly. Discussion.
Quick question, Zach, does the number you gave us, does that include this 340, or this is excluded because it's one time?
Excluded.
Okay.
I thought I saw somebody's hand up.
Yeah, me. I still can't understand why we need a literacy program if we're sending kids to school to become literate. What is this for? To organize the same curriculum in all the schools?
Yes.
Why can't they do that internally?
They're buying materials on this one, what they described. So they're buying physical assets, and I think we collectively had guided them not to put it then in the budget, so it didn't become a recurring budget item. Because if we put the $340,000 in, then it becomes lost, and we pay for it year after year after year. So I think, I'm looking to Zach, I think we kind of preferred that they carved this out than put it in the budget.
Yeah, for but how they mentioned it, as you know, if it was in the budget, it would roll. That would be the starting point for
Right.
next year.
Wait, what are they actually buying?
They said it was mostly like materials. So like, I think there was a tiny bit of training, no people involved, and it was just
It's
like,
not
I
software stuff, it's just
think there's
materials.
probably more books. They described the different classrooms didn't have the same materials and things and content.
They said that the issue they're having is there's no uniformity. So what's being taught in this classroom is different from that classroom.
okay.
All right, let me-
We want to standardize everybody on the books they use and have the teachers get trained the same way.
That's why I
that's
have
what he
a
said.
hard time understanding. Isn't that the superintendent's job to make sure that the training for the staff and the teachers is all the same?
Yes, and this is how he wants to do it.
Lauren wanted to say something?
I just wanted to clarify, my recollection was they said that they would be buying books, but then also personal development so that everybody would be trained on the same materials, and then the only reoccurring expense would be workbooks.
I agree with Lauren.
that good?
That's what I heard.
Which would be absorbed in their budget next year.
Right.
And I wrote down for what it's worth when Dr. Consigli said they do not have a literacy program today. So this is putting a literacy program in place, in my opinion, based on what he said.
Any further discussion? Whose motion was this? Was it Brant's motion? Seconded by Carly. Okay, and no further discussion. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Article 22 is favorable, and Zach will determine at some later time how we deal with source of funding? Yes. Okay. I don't know how much longer you guys want to go.
There's not much left.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it. Okay, we're looking to spend some money to repair Godfrey Brook. You know, we've always had this issue. You're technically repairing infrastructure on private property, but we've sort of always done it this way. And, you know, the question is, would the cost be prohibitive if you assigned it to the private party? I mean, that's really the only issue in my mind. Otherwise, this looks like something we've seen in different iterations in the
This
past.
is in the Prospect Heights. It's on private property behind Wally Costa's house in that row. And it's something that we've always said, technically, you own the brook when you own the property, so you own the problem. But remember the one on West Street was $250,000. You couldn't put on the back of a homeowner a $250,000 surprise. So the town, you're right, Andy, the town has always taken it, not mandatory, but it always said, it's part of being in Milford.
And it's a channelized creek, right? So we've constrained it. And if somebody were to let their part fall apart and collapse, then it would obviously flood other people. So that there is some community benefit to maintaining these things.
This is the open area from
Had enough.
the middle part.
Sorry.
We've never done any work to this part, right? We've always done to the other one by West Street? No
Yeah,
work
we've done all sorts of sections and culverts. This one finally is at a point where it has to be dealt with.
Again, or for the first time?
No, for the first time.
Okay.
Go ahead, David.
I'd like to make a motion to
Yeah,
approve.
second.
Motion by David, seconded by Vin. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Except, I should say, I'm sorry.
To vote favorable.
Vote favorable, yeah.
Yes.
I know what you meant.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Favorable on 23. Self-service gas stations, what is this, a districting issue?
This is an amendment to the zoning bylaw. The petitioner's asking to amend the use regulation schedule. Right now, retail sales services, self-service gas stations would be excluded in the business park zoning district. If this were to pass, those uses would be permitted, so.
And I'm sorry, Rick, what's the business park?
It's certain
You
use,
said it would be restricted.
Where is it?
Where is it?
again, it's very.
Any place that's designated as a business
Yeah, if
park.
you look at the use regulation schedule.
So it's multiple areas around town.
Zones in different areas, so it's just the petitioners looking, quite honestly, they have property in that district, and they're trying to...
So this is, if you already have a gas station, where before it was mandatory that it's a full service, this would allow self-service. Is that right, Rick?
No, it would allow, actually, it would allow self-service gas stations. It would actually, that use would now be a permitted use.
Oh, so you
in
could
that
build a brand new one?
Right now, you can't do it.
Okay.
This would allow you to do it.
Okay.
Again, this is coming from a private
Questions?
entity.
Motions?
Do we know where this location is?
It's locations, Brent.
Was
Is it any place that's designated as a business park?
They could open a gas station.
Hey, can I ask a question though? Did this get like vetted through like a zoning board, planning board type of thing? And their recommendations went through favorable or?
Yes, and they will, yeah,
They did, okay.
they will. No, I don't know if they did or didn't.
Oh.
Like I say, I'm trying to help out here. It's not my art. Put me on the spot.
I just didn't know, it was like, it's a private person
I
doing it.
had you written down for this one, though. Rick.
You did, I know. Most of them weren't mine, by the way. But that's okay, I tried.
Individual
But I don't have
projects.
all the answers.
If you wanted to put a gas station in
Very honest.
RC 32, you'd have to bring that up to get approved. This just says, here are the areas that are available for approval.
Zoning, obviously, certain uses are permitted,
Yep.
and certain uses are not permitted,
so this has to happen.
depending on whether it's the business.
But you still have to go if you're
whether
going to put a
it's,
gas station
Right,
on
but they would still
parcel
have to do that.
32.
All right.
It'd still have to go through site plan review, planning
Right.
board, ZBA for a special permit. There would be a lot of hoops to go through.
But we're changing the bylaw for a private petitioner, is that what we're doing now? Kind of?
This is a corporation that's asking
Yeah,
for
okay.
that, correct? Yeah,
Motion to refer to sponsor.
I agree.
That's what I was getting at on this one. Yeah.
Is that a motion?
I second Lauren reference process.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll take that as a motion by Lauren and seconded by David. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Michael? Okay, so 24 is RTS. 25, what are we doing here, Rick?
25 and 26, very simply from what I can relate here, is we're trying to make it a little easier for people to become town meeting members, and both 25 and 26 do that. I think 25 talks about, instead of, you only need 10 voters, I think.
Instead of 30, or whatever it is now?
I won't say it's 30, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I did it years ago, I don't remember. And then 26 talks about filling a vacancy, and it can be done by, so if it's precinct 6, the precinct 6 representatives can fill that vacancy. That's all I got, so.
I mean, I'm trying to remember, can't someone run for town meeting member at town meeting anyway? How is,
Elections usually.
I hate to say this, but I wrote my name in and I got one vote and I got it as
Yeah,
a town
that's-
meeting member. I mean, that's how easy it is.
okay, but 26 would allow precinct 6 to huddle.
Well, 8 precinct, that's my.
Oh, no, I understand, I
Yeah.
understand. I'm just hypothetically.
Yeah.
Precinct 6,
As I
they get a
understand it,
quorum.
This has
and
been
it's
looked at by the moderator and town council.
Moderator's been involved in this?
Yeah,
Okay.
heavily. yeah.
Okay. Okay, 25 and 26, are these RTS? Are there motions?
Motion to refer to sponsor for both of them if we can do two for
I
one.
don't,
Do them individually.
do them individually? All right.
25, then refer to
Grant,
sponsor.
25 refer to sponsor.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Carly. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Michael, okay, so 25 is refer to sponsor. 26, you heard Rick's explanation of what's to be accomplished there.
Motion for sponsor.
David, refer to sponsor, seconded by Vin. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Okay, so 26 is refer to sponsor. 27, I have a note that says Zach. What is happening here?
What does that mean? 27.
Authorize the town to offer a subsidiary or additional rate toward the monthly premiums. This is like an OPEB,
Oh, I don't know why you have a note for me on that.
I was hoping you'd be able to answer. How about you, Rick?
I'm going to pass.
Yeah. I'm going to be here next meeting anyway. I'll take
Okay,
it.
if we need to invite Brian, let me know, otherwise I'll assume you'll have the
I can-
information.
No, I'm guessing Zach will be
Yeah,
able
I'll
to.
take it.
All right.
I mean,
It's the last one I had for you, Rick. I think you're getting just about in the
yeah,
clear.
this is simply Walter Circle. It was designed, constructed in accordance with the subdivision control law. Now, the last step is for the town to accept ownership of the right-of-way and the drainage easements, et cetera. So, in other words, they've done everything they needed to do. We're now accepting the street.
Now it becomes the town
Correct.
property. Okay.
I
Question?
think, no question, but I will make a motion to accept. Because I think this is going to have...
Or is this a refer to sponsor?
No, I think it's going to have some monetary cost because now that town's a public way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to have some monetary cost with snow removal and all that kind of thing. So it's a cost to accept, just street.
I suppose. Okay. Second?
Second.
Seconded by Ben. Any further discussion? Okay, it's a recommendation to accept Article 28 favorably. Carly?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
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 Lauren?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we're down to the last four, which are all Zach. Do you want to do these tonight, or?
I can do 29 quick. I'm definitely not prepared for the remaining.
Okay.
Things need to develop more.
Okay.
But I'll take up 29 for you. So, and I actually talked about it earlier today when, with the return of $157,000.
The money that was erroneously transferred.
Yeah.
Now we're kicking it back.
I was asked to close it by the Department of Revenue. I challenged it based on my own interpretation of the language, and to toot my own horn, but I was right. Unfortunately,
circuit breaker to what?
to the general fund. Circuit breakers are special revenue.
But they were telling you to send it into like a school special revenue account? Is that what it
It's a
was?
special revenue account for special education
Yeah.
costs. Basically, like what you spend in one year, the next year the state reimburse you, goes into this revolving
Well,
fund.
this is the school circuit breaker.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Yes. You cannot have a balance above the granting amount in any particular year. And I've known this forever, so that's why I've argued it. But this past year, not to go too deep in the weeds, but if you want, there was this it was quote-unquote extraordinary relief, and that's where the rub was with confusion. I've read the interpretation. I disagreed with them, but they told me to do it. I did it.
my understanding was, we pay the first X dollars of special needs. If it's above, whatever it is, 150, the state uses a circuit breaker to pay you back some of it.
Yes, yes.
So that's what this is all about, is the
Yes.
money they pay us back for
Yes, but
some
there's
of
a
the extra.
restriction on the balance. You can't just use it, you just can't build up the balance, build up. So they have a restriction or a cap to ensure you're spending it. And that extraordinary relief had confused the Department of Revenue. It was DESI that put it out. They didn't communicate with the DOR, and that's what happened. Months later, they came out and said they goofed, so I think it's right to return the funds. That's why I'm sponsoring it.
Yes, sir.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but can you use any of that money for the school budget? It's your fiscal year 26 budget?
Not necessarily the budget, it's going back into a special revenue fund, but it will definitely be used for special education, so effectively, yes. Instead of being charged to the budget, it will be charged here.
So that's, okay.
Effectively, yes.
So then their overages is potentially 157,000 less
No.
for fiscal year 26?
No.
No?
Seems like a good question,
yeah.
though.
Right, that seems like a fair question. Can you explain that, Zach? Why is that money not dumping
what the
into?
expenses are in the budget.
I think I know the answer. The answer is that their overall budget is coming from the general fund, and this is a special fund.
Yes.
Special fund is not something, why don't we vote on special funds? Because they're subject to special rules?
Yeah, they're statutorily accepted without appropriation, without further appropriation. Well,
Okay.
some of them there's a whole slew of them.
So there you go.
But the money sitting in
I
this,
literally have over 400 funds on the books.
but the money sitting in here eventually will be used for special needs
Yes,
projects.
has to be. Nothing
Right.
further, yeah. This was just a goof of the state, and I thought it would be appropriate to
So when they
return.
come back and say, the budget includes $100 extra this year for special
Yeah,
needs,
sounds right.
this could be 90.
So you can transfer the money into the general fund then, if necessary?
Out of the general fund and back to So you have the general fund here, you have a special revenue fund here. DOR said close this balance to here. I did. They were wrong. I'm saying send it back.
I'll make a motion because Zach was right.
Best motion I ever heard.
I'll say.
Motion by Carly, second by Grant. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call.
Yes.
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 Lauren?
Yes.
Oh, did we lose Michael? I think we might have lost another soldier here. Okay. All right, so before we wrap up for the night, I want to make sure we all agree on what's still outstanding and who
We
we...
got Article 30, snow and ice.
Yep.
I don't have the
No,
number yet.
he said he's not ready for the last
Oh,
three.
we don't know the exact number.
Mr. Chair, before you do that, I meant to mention, or it's important to mention, that if the selectmen, which they likely will, add that article, I'm not sure it's just going to be next in line, so your numbers may get,
Oh, they will.
they will. Right?
They will. Rick loves, after I do the Finance Committee report, to change
You
the
only get
numbers.
one, Al, that's it. You're going to have to put the rest yourself. Unless we do take that,
Good.
stuff it in there.
We'll let you know on
Yeah,
that.
we may be able to circumvent that, so you don't have to worry.
All right,
It
so...
doesn't matter. There's
so-
only one.
No, we get it, you know, the revised
All
one
right,
anyway.
so I've got 11 outstanding matters. I want to make sure everybody knows what their homework is. Now, Article 2 on personnel grant, is there...
So I think that so you look at these things, and we generally go over them kind of quickly because, you know, there's just tables of a bunch of detail. But I'm looking at this and thinking about the overarching problem in our budget with so much of negotiations are locking in expenses that are growing faster than probably we realize. Is there a way, when we look at this, to understand the future expense of this thing? Because it's like, there's going to be a whole bunch of things, but something's going to tell me a year from now, be like, well, you guys already approved this thing, and it's going up 4% because of all these rates and gates, and people are getting older, and it's just automatically happening. And I'm like, these are the moments we're approving this stuff, and I don't know how to monetize
The
it.
only thing applicable here, the only change is COLA. There's a COLA applied across the majority of, I say majority because not all of them.
There's a couple of
Board
stipends
clerks
that
were left out, miscellaneous stipends were left level funded. Everything else was just subject to COLA of 3%.
And it's already in the budget?
Yeah, you just approved, I was wondering why you passed it with 2. You just approved 4 that's built on 2.
Let's try to figure out if there's expense, in future years,
Yeah.
because that's what we seem to find ourselves with. So
Now-
you're saying there's no expense in future years on this? This is just COLA for...
next year they'll vote on COLA again.
They'll do it again, yeah.
So
So,
that was my question.
well, it's...
This is only
gonna be a big,
applicable
messy
for fiscal year
conversation.
26.
It's the,
Yep.
it's the 3% COLA and the steps and grades that are embedded in this, right? But
Yes,
that's
but that's not like a change that's presented.
No.
You know what I mean?
understood.
And that's not, the other, so, again, for people who don't work in government, the COLA, if you get a 3% COLA, you get 3%. But we look at this, and the math tends to be groups of people are getting 6% because there's two things happening at once.
Yep.
But it
Or-
sounds like the second...
That could be from the union side, but not here.
Right.
It could be here too. with
Yeah,
steps.
too.
I mean, there are grades
Yeah.
here, right? So this,
But like people like me that have been here, I'm just Kohler at this point.
Because you're maxed out.
There's no more stepping, you know? Though it's meant to, and you heard, and I was actually glad you finally heard an example of it, where you heard the school department say, part of their, I think they called it attrition or something like that. We're gonna have people retiring at X, then we bring them in back here, and they go do the steps. That's kind of the cycle that's supposed to happen,
Right.
you know?
It's the chutes and ladders.
I'm trying to figure out where are the moments when we actually have decisions to make on the chutes and ladders that could affect our future, because I see it getting problematic, and it sounds like this isn't the one.
What about the comp study? The comp
That's
study
based
put
on the
this in
comp study that
place,
was,
and this is just,
So does that mean our future is set and we're already in trouble? Because
Yes.
that was the bite of the apple?
Yes.
So when, is there
Well,
any
again,
intervention?
we were told during the comp study that the actual impact on the town, at least for that year, was like 50 grand or something, is my vague recollection. Now, I don't know what the ultimate long-term impact on that is.
And I'm not against people getting paid fairly, I'm just observing that the combined COLA, let's say it, let's describe it as in my words, is much more than our increases in revenue. And then that's like without hiring any people, just the base of people we have is growing, the expenses are growing faster than our income, and that becomes problematic if you want to do any projects, right?
Yeah.
You're going to hit the wall we hit in 2003. where the lines started intersecting, and the only thing you can do at that point is cut people or raise taxes.
Yeah.
Or unwind some of the compensation.
Yeah, but that's done by contract. You can't unwind the contract once.
Well, that's their choice, right? But if we get to the point in the town where there's only $5 million to allocate to this department, that department can say, we're going to let go 3 people, or we're going to make adjustments to our existing contract.
So my obvious motivation is to get ahead of this, but it might be
I
impossible.
would love to.
Yeah. And if this isn't the moment, that's okay too, but I just thought it'd be worth bringing up before we just flew through that one.
I mean, this is a piece of the puzzle, and of course, all the collective bargaining agreements are the other piece of the puzzle, which are going on every 3 years in every department, and they're all getting their steps and ladders based upon what other towns are doing. It's a vicious daisy chain, is what it is.
And that's what, 4 pages long? Like the collective bargaining of some of these are literally 70, 80 pages, and a
And I
lot
believe
of
there's 5 going on
compensation.
right now. Police, fire.
Yeah, police, fire, mace.
Police and fire are the big ones
Those
next
are
to
the 2 big
school.
ones. Those are the big boys. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I had some reservations with the compensation study when it came up, but we were told that they couldn't fill certain positions, it wasn't going to have a big consequence. We went along with it, and the collective bargaining agreements really are going to drive what's going on in various departments regardless of this. So I agree with you, Brant. It's a problem. I don't think there's anything we can do about it, at least for today's purposes. I think we're going to be okay for this year.
Oh, yeah,
But
but you're
every-
okay for this year, but you see the
Oh, yeah.
problem getting very close.
You see the snowball coming,
Yeah.
no question.
So that was my question. If there's no follow-up, there's no follow-up, that's fine, but
When departments are going up 6 and 7%, and our revenue is going up 3%,
right, that's exactly the point. Thanks for putting numbers on that for everybody who's watching at home.
it's just a matter of extend the lines.
Yeah.
Eventually, they cross.
Yep.
Yeah, and what bailed us out up until now has presumably been a combination of the Chapter 70 money and the COVID.
Massive amounts of federal
Massive
money.
amounts of money sloshing around 2021, et cetera, right?
Don't see that happening.
Hopefully, everybody in town departments, et cetera, understand this dilemma, because it looks like we may escape it this year, but it's coming. Did you want to vote on Article 2, or are we going to just defer that? I mean, to Zach's point, we already did vote on Article 4.
If that's the totality of it, I'm comfortable going forward with it, but it's just, I was afraid there'd be
Can we vote
follow-up.
against Article 2 if we voted for Article 4?
Well, probably not.
It could.
I mean, one's a subset of the other. Once you vote for the
Be a little
total,
foolish, but you
The problem is,
get in your way.
That would have been helpful about an hour.
I mean, if it was a specific dollar amount we were reducing, you could amend your approval of Article 4 to a lower amount, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to get anywhere on that right now.
So do you want to just vote on that and just get it over with?
might
then?
as well.
So I'll make the motion then, since
right.
I'm the one who hung it up.
Grant? Second? Anybody?
second.
Seconded by Al. Carly?
Yes.
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 Lauren?
Yes.
Okay, so before we got way late on that, let me just go through what I believe is still outstanding. Article 7, we're inviting Chris George. Article 10, which is the firing range, you guys told me you'll let me know if we need to do anything. Articles 12 and 19, those are Chris Pilla.
Yep.
Pilla.
kill it.
Someday, I'll get it. 21 is Parks. 27, I've got Rick. Why do I have Rick for 27?
That legal one. We can do that.
Yeah. You'll,
Jack will get back. Got to be honest.
30, 31, and 32 are Zach, and I'm putting a placeholder at 33 for the elevator. Are we good? One more motion?
Motion to adjourn.
By Lauren, seconded by Carly. Roll call.
Yes.
Lost Lauren, that's unanimous, we're adjourned.